I wanted to talk today about something that for me has literally changed my life. If you are somebody who's ever tried to create a new habit, you wanted to work out more, you wanted to eat healthier, you wanted to work on building a business, you wanted to study harder at school, but you just found yourself sabotaging or not sticking to it, this is for you. If you've ever tried to stop anything, you're like, I'm not going to eat the candy anymore. This is for you. What I learned has literally been mind blowing. So let me give you some context to what I'm about to share and why it's so important. So for the longest time, you guys know I talk all the time about habits and how habits really are the foundation of everything, how everything you have in your life or you don't have is based on your habits. So I knew that. But the other piece is that, like everybody else, I'm human. And so I try and implement habits and then I kind of get stuck and fall away, or I can only keep up with it for a month, a week, whatever it is, and then I'm not doing it. That was until I read this book. The book is called Tiny Habits, and it's by a PhD from Stanford University. His name is BJ Fogg. What I want to share with you, this one thing is BJ's model, where he defines what behavior is. Because here's the thing, if you don't know what you're working with, how can you change it? So if you're looking to change your behavior, but you don't actually understand how behavior works, it's going to be very hard to do that. First of all, let's understand this definition, behavior. So behavior is anything that you do or a way of acting. And a key thing as well about behavior is something that you can choose to do in this minute. I can choose to be happy, in this minute. I can choose to be sad or to be angry in this minute. Something that you can make a decision to do or to be in any moment. So that's behavior. And then I talk a lot about habits, and that's a lot as well about what BJ teaches, which is, in his case, it's called tiny habits that he teaches. But a habit is really a subset. So I guess if we were to draw a circle like this, so behavior is everything that we do. Habits is a subset. It sits in here. That's your habits. And habits are just things behaviors that you do automatically, that you don't even have to think about. You've done them so many times that they've become automated, that you're operating at a subconscious level when it comes to your habits. So BJ taught me that for you to understand all of this, before you can change it, you've got to understand what is behavior. What I'm going to write for you is what is now known as the Fogg model. And what it says is this: if this is your vertical axis, this is your y-axis, this here is motivation. So we all are familiar with motivation. It's that feeling on January 1st, like, yes. Like for me on January 1st this year, is like, this is my decade. I'm inspired. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I was feeling motivated. Okay. On this axis of the Fogg model is your ability. Okay. And then here is what is called your action line. So this is where you actually do something, right? And so with motivation, either your motivation is low or it's high. Motivation is really also driven by your desire. How much do you want to do this thing? Ability is about how hard is it for you to do this thing. So with ability, is it very hard to do or is it easy to do, right? If it's easy, it's over here. If it's hard to do, it's over here. So an example of this in terms of fitness is, if I want to get fit, I'm feeling motivated, I'm up here, but the exercises are very hard, or it's very hard for me to get to the gym, or I don't have the right equipment, or I don't know what to do, then I'm going to be over here. And so based on that, if we're mapping out motivation against ability, we see that you want to be where action happens, where you actually do the thing, is over here, past this line. So If it's hard for me to do and my motivation is low, I'm going to be right here, which means it's not happening. But let's just say hypothetically, my motivation is high. It might be a hard thing for me to do, but because my motivation is high, I could end up here. But where you really want to be is figuring out, how do you make it easier to do the thing? The third element, so if I was to write it out, his formula says behavior is equal to MAP. M being motivation, A being ability, and then the third component is a prompt. And a prompt is really just a cue, a trigger to say, hey, do the thing. So for example, with our phones, if we're talking about phones and Instagram, when your phone buzzes, that's a prompt, that's a cue, that's telling you something's happened, you need to do something with that. And so that is what the Fogg model says, is that you can map any behavior to these three components: motivation, ability, and prompt. And what you're trying to do is to get these three to come together and take you above the action line. Now, here's a key thing that BJ emphasized to me. Too many of us rely on motivation. And I'm going to put in this same bucket willpower. We rely on motivation to get us going, to do the thing, to exercise, to do the sales calls, whatever it is. And yet motivation is unreliable. You're not always going to have the same level of motivation. So how motivated I was to get fit and to run 10 kilometers on New Year's Day is probably a lot different than it is today when the weather's not so nice, I'm feeling tired, it's been a long week. So you can't reliably rely on motivation or willpower. The other two things, your ability and your prompt, are the things that you can play around with. How can you make it easier? Asking yourself, why is this hard for me and how can I make it easier? And the prompt, how can I remind myself to do that thing? So I have so much that I have learned that I cannot wait to share with you guys. But this here is literally the foundation. Because he said to me, and I'd love for somebody, because he said people have been trying to challenge him on this for years and no one has been able to. But he says every behavior, any behavior can be mapped to this formula, that it is about motivation plus ability plus prompt, and it's just you playing with those three dials to figure how you can get yourself above the action line. The last thing that I want to share with you that he said, which was really interesting to me, was that he said, like, a lot of the time we've been told, everything that I had read said that habits are created by repetition. And you've heard that, oh, habits form after 21 days, 66 days, 120 days, blah, 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 whatever, all of those numbers. And he said, yeah, maybe there's a component about, repetition. But what he said is that your habits are driven by emotion. And that was like mind-blowing. That it's not the repeated, it is about how it makes you feel. So I hope this was useful to you guys. I'm so excited to share more. And a reminder as well that I'm going to be opening up my Worthy course, which is 6 weeks that I'm going to spend with you working through, including some of this stuff in terms of how can you make 2021 your best year ever, and how can we together create an environment for you that leads you to success. So if you're interested in that, send me a DM or head over to worthybrand.co and sign up for our email list, and we'll make sure to send you that information as soon as it's available. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you share my excitement about all this stuff that I'm geeking out about, and I will see you same time, same place next week.